Welcome, everyone. How are you today? This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of GoCloud Careers. And I'm here with you today to help answer any cloud computing career questions you may have. Maybe your goal is how to get your first cloud architect job, or your first solution architect job, or your first cloud engineer job, or your first enterprise architect job. Whatever the case is, that's why I'm here to answer any career questions you have. So you consider this cloud computing career training, and this is your forum to ask any questions you want. I try to do this because I know that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And when you have a laser focus, you can not only get to the goal of your dreams, you can get there faster, earn more than the competition, and truly build a magical technology career. When I left internal medicine for tech 25 years ago, I got to tell you, I never looked back, and it's been the best experience of my life. I've never had so much fun. When I left medicine for tech, I don't think I've ever worked. I mean, sure, I put in some long hours, but it was fun. It was my hobby. I got paid to do my hobby, and it's been the best ride ever. And I want you to have that. For those of you that don't know me, I've been working in technology now for over 25 years, and I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for 2 decades. And I'm going to help you get cloud hired. So that's why we're here, completely free, 3 times per week. The world reaches out to me every single day, and they say, can you talk to me? And I say, well, you can book a private session with me, but those paid sessions are 8 weeks out. But I'm here completely free. So bring us your questions so we can help you build your cloud computing career. So you can get that cloud architect job, or that solution architect job, or that enterprise architect job, or that great cloud engineering job. Whatever tech job that you absolutely love and desire, that's my goal for you. So bring us your questions. While we're here, tell us where you're from. In the chat box, tell us where you're from, and also tell us the job you want. If you want to be a cloud architect, tell us that. If you want to be a cloud engineer, tell us that. And that way we can guide you. But I'd like to know who's on, so I know how to answer the questions and guide the questions. So tell us your job and where you're at. But before we do, let's talk about a few great things that we have going on. My average student at GoCloud Careers gets harassed. I mean, truly harassed by recruiters and hiring managers trying to hire them. And here's the reason why. We know exactly what the hiring manager wants. Why? Because we've been hiring managers. We've hired people. We've interviewed thousands of people. We speak to hiring managers, recruiters, executives every single day of the week. So we know exactly what they're looking for because they tell us. So we know exactly what needs to be in your brand, exactly the things that you need to know, and exactly the things that you need to learn. So join us on the LinkedIn and Resume Workshop. It'll be live. It'll be on Zoom. It'll be interactive, and you're going to learn how to build yourself your optimal LinkedIn resume. And then you'll be like my students, where you'll be saying, my biggest challenge is how many recruiters reach out to me each day. And then it's up to you. If you've got the right training, you'll be hired. If you've got the right skills, you'll be hired. So, it's not enough just to get in there. You've got to have the interview skills. But if you're ready, our resume and LinkedIn workshop will have the world coming to you. Now, on this Thursday, we are going to have a very special webinar. It's going to be a very special version, a fun version, a different version of our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. We'll give you examples of people that have done it, gotten their first tech jobs, regardless of their background, what to do, how to do it, and why we're so successful at doing it. And I'll share examples of students after student after student. We'll talk about people that were, coming from selling shoes that are now working as cloud architects. We'll talk about psychology people that are now working as cloud architects. We're talking about food servers that are working for AWS as cloud architects. We'll go on and we'll go on and we'll going on. And that's really the thing. We will help you get hired easily. We'll help you get promoted. And join us for this webinar on Thursday. It's completely free. We'll show exactly how to get your first cloud architect job. Please sign up. Please register. It's going to be a very special day. While we're at it, in order to help you build your best career, we've got a new book coming, and of course, it'll be free. So you've already seen, so many of you have loved our AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book. And if you haven't, make sure you get a copy of it. Now we're going to be releasing a Google Professional Cloud Architect book in about 4 or 5 weeks or something like that, as soon as it's ready. So register now. and pick up the Google Professional Cloud Architect book, which of course will be completely free. Keep that in the back of your mind. So register for this. Now something I'm excited about. Still my birthday, right? So we're going to have the 30% off birthday bonus for a little bit longer. I've asked my team to extend it a little longer. The birthday discount is still up. So take advantage of 30% off of everything in our store. Coupon code is birthday. Don't let my birthday go to waste. Make sure you take advantage of it. Get your best career. Start your best career and be ready to go. So at this point, bring me your questions. Put your questions in the chat box. Let me know I can help you. And tell me where you're from and tell me the job you want. So give me a cloud architect or a cloud engineer or a solution architect or whatever you want. And kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So Tom Orpheus, good to see you over there in the Netherlands. I still want to think you're Greek, though, by your name. Ruth, it's good. If you're the Ruth, I think you are. Good to see you. So good to see you this morning, and I'm so glad you're here. Welcome, welcome. Alonzo, yes, you can call him Cloud Cowboy. Alonzo is a great friend. He works with us. He takes very good care of our students that he's working with. Alonzo, good to see you. Ask us your questions in the chat box. And tell us where you're from. Bring us your questions. That's why we're here, to completely help you. Is there an additional student discount? Pavan, our prices are on the website. They're clearly stated. We took a $50,000 course and made it $1,000. And there's a 30% birthday discount. We don't offer discounts outside of our discounts. And to let you know, we don't charge extra for students, though we should. We should charge about 10 times more for college students than for older people. And here's the reason why. They take about 10 times the effort to get hired. Because when you're 30 years old and you've got experience, it's a lot easier for an employer to take you seriously. When you're young, like 21, 22, 23, you need a lot of extra work. You need a lot more executive presence to be taken seriously. You need even more knowledge, and it's even better. So we don't charge extra for students because we have one price. It's a fair price. It's on our website. There is no negotiation of the price. We are not a flea market. We are a high-class educational institution. And we produce people that earn between $120,000 and $275,000. But our prices are on the menu. They're clear. They're open. They're honest. It wouldn't be fair to charge one person one price and another person another price. So we never will have any discounts that are outside of those on our website. But we can change your life, like my students say. We can get you paid more than you've ever dreamed about in your entire life if you follow our work. And we can help you build an extremely good career. One way you'll laugh about the cost of our things, like I said, when I asked Delroy what's our cost worth, and he said over 100,000. And I said, how did you get that? And he said, well, I've got a job that can enable me to buy 2 brand new Mercedes, a 4-bedroom house, and then save several $1,000s per month. And he did that for a course that he bought for $800. So, we are what we are. I have a team full of executives that are necessary to get my students through. And we basically charge what it costs us to run it, plus a little bit to make sure the business is successful. There's no cheaping in it out. There's no negotiation of it. I just want to get you hired, paid more, and promoted, and that's our skill. Please let us know your questions in the chat box. Guru, you want to work as a solution architect for AWS. That's good. After I passed the professional certificate, that's good. That's a start. How far am I to master the technical and the skills needed for an interview? If you've done the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, you have about 5% of the skills that you need to have. The other 95% are not covered here. So the things that you need to learn that are not covered in the AWS certifications are as follows, and we cover them all in our training. And Guru, to be fair, the reason we created our training program was as follows. We've interviewed people that pass all the certifications, and none of them are hireable because you need to know what the job is. So the Certified Solution Architect Professional is a basic introductory level certification that covers the name of an AWS service and how to configure those services. But here's the thing. Even AWS won't use those names with their customers because they can't, and architects don't configure anything. So what you need to understand is what you need to learn is the following. You need to learn BGP, and that is not covered in anything including the AWS Advanced Networking, but you must know it. You need to know IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation, route summarization. Again, not covered in the Certified Solution Architect Professional or the AWS Advanced Networking, but critical skills for the job. You need to know what kind of WAN technologies to use. When should you use a VPN, an SSL-based VPN, an IPsec-based VPN, private line, an Ethernet over MPLS line, software-defined networking or SASE. So that's the WAN technology that you need to understand and learn. Next, you probably should have some understanding of interior gateway protocols. Now, you also need to know switching. And switching means switches and VLANs and VLAN tagging and VLAN trunking protocols. And in addition to that, it includes spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, port channel, ether channel, link aggregation groups, etc. You'll also need to know NAT, which is not covered in there. And this is not like the simple, silly NAT gateway going out to the internet. This is one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, NAT for overlapping IP addresses, and all those other kind of things when a company buys another company. You will need to have real knowledge on DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP, and those kind of protocols. Now, those are the networking things that you need. Now, mind you, Guru, 90% of the job, or 50% of the job is not tech, so we're going to get to these things next, but we haven't covered the tech things that are not covered in certifications. You must have good knowledge of servers and server virtualization, server architecture, understanding how servers are different, understanding, error correcting RAM, understanding how servers work, and all these things, as well as hypervisors such as KVM, QEMU, Citrix's Zen, VMware ESXi, because we're going to be working in a virtualized environment and we're going to be taking the stuff to the cloud, and you need to know all of that. Beyond this, you're going to need to know containers and container orchestration. Again, none of that's covered in any level at the Certified Solution Architect Professional. Now, next, you need to understand storage area network. So obviously, if you took our training, all these things are covered. But if you're not with us, here's what you can do. You can go to the Dell EMC website, the IBM website, and read about 500 pages on block storage, object storage, and file storage, and then you'll get it. Or you can take our course and all of it's covered simply. When you are done this, you will need to learn load balancers. And I don't just mean the way the AWS does it. You need to really know about how you're going to be using your network load balancers, your application load balancers, when you need to use both, how to tune them, how to tweak them. Again, not covered in certification. Now, you will also need to know databases, how to scale relational databases, how to scale NoSQL databases. And you need to understand that you cannot, in most cases, use a DynamoDB or an Aurora because they're proprietary. And 87% of customers use multiple clouds and 97% want to be. So you're going to need to know what industry-specific databases that are not covered in any depth in your certification that you need to use. When would you use Apache Cassandra versus MongoDB? Oracle DB versus MariaDB? When and where do you use Postgres? Now, when you're dealing with these things in databases, you probably need to understand some ETL tools and mapping reduction tools. Again, not the cloud provider's native ones, like the kind of things that your big data people will do. Now that you're done those things, you need to understand business applications, ERP systems, CRM systems, and unified communications and other ways of tuning a business's performance. Now, next. Here's the thing. You will still need to understand security devices, and we're not going to be using AWS WAF or any of those things that are talked about in the AWS Advanced Security. We need to know real security as an architect. So you're going to have to get really good at next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, but you'll get it in our course. If not, get a few thousand pages of reading from Cisco, Checkpoint, Fortinet, Palo Alto system. Now you've got the tech skills. Now realize, Guru, we don't configure the tech. We design it, we present it, and sell it. So 50% of what you need is not tech skills. So if you have an MBA, good. If you don't have an MBA, you're going to need to learn these skills, and we teach them in our program. You must learn how to build an ROI model to show the customer the value of the solution is greater than the cost, which means learning how to build a business case. You can get training for that or get an MBA. You must be what's called CXO relevant in terms of what do you say to the CEO versus CFO versus CTO. Cost me about 10 grand for training for that. You can get that training for about 10 grand, or you can take our course and you'll get it there. I don't really care where you do it. I just want you to get hired. Now, you're going to be delivering presentations on an interview with AWS every single day in your job. And unless you've got good presentation skills, meaning you're used to presenting to CEOs, used to presenting at conferences with 5,000 people plus, you're going to need some serious training, which means, you can take some presentation skills training courses like Presenting to Win or Speakeasy, a couple $1,000s for the week, but you get there. Or you can take my course, which costs less than the training, and you get it all. Now, when you're done that, you need to be able to lead people. So you're going to need some serious leadership training, because you're going to be going back to the customer and you're going to be building a team of cloud engineers and DevOps engineers and architects for your proof of concepts, because you're not going to do anything other than design, present, and sell. So you're going to have some serious business acumen, leadership, and communication skills. Now, you're going to have to learn how to write executive writing, which is different than they teach you in an MBA program in college. So you're going to need some training in executive writing. Now, when you do these things, and then you get training on how do I put the pieces and parts together, now you'll easily pass the architect exam. But the certification piece is no more than 5%. And that's why, Guru, we created our program. Because we interviewed 1,000 people that passed our AWS certification, and not a single one was hireable. So that's how you're going to have to get those skills. You're going to have to take training. Now, I gave you two options. One is train with us. I also gave you about 25,000 pages of reading material that you could do if you're not with us to give you the technical skills. Because remember, the architect designs, presents, and sells. We don't code, we don't configure, we don't touch the technology. We design it, present it, and sell it. So those are the things that you need to learn. We don't configure anything. We're not engineers. We're not basically typing anything on the keyboard other than our Word documents. We're building the plan. We're creating the menu. We're creating the overall end-to-end strategy. And none of that's covered in certification. So I hope I've answered your question. We could easily train you. I've gotten my students get hired every single day. Last week, one of my 21-year-old students, never worked in tech before, got his first cloud architect job. I've got students working everywhere, at AWS, at Microsoft, at Cisco, at JP Morgan Chase, at Capgemini, at Bearing Point, at Accenture, at Deloitte, and I could go on and go on and go on with prestigious organizations where my students work. But the key is those are the skills that you need to learn. Nothing covered in that certification will qualify you for anything other than a piece of paper that you can say, I passed the exam. Chris, let's go to the next question. If you've got more questions, I'm happy to answer them now that you know the fundamentals of the things that you need to learn. Does AWS have bonuses? All companies have bonuses. There is no solution architect job that's not have bonuses. You have to remember this. It's a sales position. All architects don't touch the technology. We sell, we sell, we sell. So we get commissions. And of course you get bonuses. Everybody gets bonuses. And your commissions and bonuses are going to be structured upon two things. One is how much you sell. That's the majority of it. The second component is going to be something called a measurable business objective. What's a measurable business objective? So a measurable business objective is, did you write a thought leadership paper that you did? Did you get your training that you needed to get? Did you give a certain number of presentations? Did you deliver something with a certain level of quality? Are your customers saying great things about you? And that's going to be determination. Plus, there's going to be one other component, how hard you work. So the way these things work, there's typically a component that's related to sales. There's typically a component related to those measurable business objectives. And there's typically an individual performance factor. And here's the thing. If you got a 25% bonus that's your standard, or 35%, which is your standard, and you're a rock star, I might give you 70, 80, 100% of your salary. And if you were to bozo, which I know you're not, I might give you 0 because you did a bad job. So the point is, there's a continuum of how we do things. And we're a continuum of how to do them and what to do. But they all have bonuses because most companies know that if they don't give you a bonus, you're not going to work. And especially when it comes to architect jobs, that's why we architects get paid so much more than engineers. Because we're getting commissions that can be huge. I know architects and engineers and sales reps that have gotten commissions so big they could buy a boat and a house and a Porsche all in the same year from their commission checks. So the point is it depends on how good you are. But yes, there's bonuses on more bonuses. All good jobs are based upon bonus. And in most cases, what you see is a manager might get 130 as a base pay. A director might get 130 as a base pay. A VP may get 130 as a base pay. But the VP may get $300,000 as a bonus. The director may get a $200,000 bonus, and the regular person may get a nothing bonus or a small bonus. Good questions. Chris, let's bring in the next one. Ruth, what kind of job can you get if you're certified as a cloud practitioner? Ruth, there is no certification that will ever, ever, ever get you a job. Ever. Now, the right question to ask Ruth is, I would like this kind of job. What do I need to know? See, all the cloud practitioner was really designed for was for sales reps. It was designed to teach a sales rep, who generally speaking has no concept of what anything is, some basic cloud things. Now, I'm going to tell you this, Ruth. I know people like Delroy Batt, who's my student. Great guy. And he's working now at CDW, an incredible gold platinum partner to all the big cloud providers, networking companies. Hugely incredible thing. And he has 0 certifications whatsoever. I also had a Jeffrey West who got hired very recently from Acalient, and he had only the cloud practitioner. But here's the thing. You don't need a certification to get hired. You need to be able to do the job. So if all you have is all 10 AWS certifications, there's no jobs that you can do, because that's teaching you the name of a service and how to configure them. Now, having said that, Ruth, there's 1,000,001 jobs that you can actually do based upon knowledge. So the key is, Ruth, what would you like to do? You tell me what you like to do, and I'll tell you how to get hired. But know this. No AWS certification is going to get anybody a job for anything. And it's for a couple of reasons. One is the certifications are basically irrelevant in what they teach. 2 is there's so many bad certification providers out there that are just teaching the name of the service and how to configure it, that when people see AWS certified people, they just look at it and say, yeah, so what? And the third reason is there are so many companies that guarantee you pass the exam with a 99.6% guarantee. And if you don't pass the exam, they'll either give you your money back or give you access to another practice exam. It took the validity of these exams, which was once here, and brought them down to nothing. So certifications don't get anybody a job. They get you an interview, but not a job. So Ruth, what would you like to do? Tell me what you'd like to do. I will build you the map to do it, because you can do anything you want, Ruth. I mean, maybe you desire to be a solution architect. Maybe you desire to be a cloud engineer. Maybe you desire to be a DevOps engineer. Maybe you desire to be a sales rep. What do you desire to do? Ruth, you tell me that and I'll tell you how to get there. But I'm going to tell you right now, certifications are not the path. They're a component of the path, maybe 5%. So I like to look at certifications as the icing on the cake. Nobody buys icing just to eat it out of the jar. I mean, I don't eat cake or icing. I don't know this, but I know a lot of people that like cake. My wife likes cake. My brother likes cake. I have some buddies that like cake. I only eat, I eat paleo, so I don't eat anything with sugar or grains or dairy. So I don't eat cake. But when I ask people that eat cake, they say, Mike, what are you interested in? And they say the cake. And I say, what about the icing? They're like, the icing makes the cake better, but it's not enough on its own. So a certification is a component of it. It's like the windshield wipers on your car. You want to have them, but you need the car. You're not spending $60,000 for windshield wipers. You're spending $60,000 for a nice car, which by coincidence has windshield wipers to keep the windshields clean when it rains. So tell me what you like, and then I'll tell you how to get there. And then, Chris, while we wait for Ruth to tell us what she'd like to do, because I want to help her get her job, we need to figure out, we'll just go to the next question. Okay, here we go. I am a web developer and confused on either learning the solution architect job or DevOps. Now, that's a great question. What do you want to do? So here's the difference between the two. A solution architect is going to design, present, and sell. Say it with me, everybody. Design, present, and sell. I'm going to say this again. Say it with me, everyone. Design, present, and sell. And when you can remember that as a solution architect or a cloud architect or an enterprise architect, you'll be able to know exactly what to do. Exactly. And for example, if you want to do DevOps, it's all about automating software release cycles. So Ruth, the question for you has to be this. Would you desire a position where you go meet people, talk to people, present solutions, present at conferences, and go to meetings all day? If so, you're going to enjoy being an architect. Or do you want to be a hands-on techie? We are coding all day, configuring all day, automating software release things, doing infrastructure as code. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. You will earn far more as a solution architect than you will as a DevOps engineer. You will work far less hours as a solution architect for much greater pay than a DevOps engineer. So, I mean, if you're looking to you will have much more career potential and advancement as a solution architect than a DevOps engineer. But they're both great jobs. The key is what's going to make you happy. I would want to die working as a DevOps engineer because I hate to code. I hate it. I took a 2-day course at Sun Microsystems because my manager forced me to many years ago. And here's the reality. I hated it so much. Now, the good news is they sent their architect to learn how to code. They had a massive outage. It cost them like $20 million. And I got back and they hugged me and they said, Mike, I will never ask my architect to do a hands-on thing ever again. It was crazy of me. And one of the people got fired, the person that sent me, and everybody else did good. But, the key is architects design, present, and sell. DevOps engineers code and configure. So do you want to be a hands-on techie? Then you like DevOps. Or do you want to be a business executive? And that's what the architect is. It's an executive. And that's why architects can earn double what DevOps engineers learn. Truthfully, they can earn triple over time as well, what a DevOps engineer can learn. These are both great jobs, but it's what's right for your personality. If you don't want to sit behind a desk for your whole life and code and configure, then don't become a DevOps engineer. Likewise, if you love the tech and you're a hands-on techie, like I got a buddy Moses, you walk into his house. The second you walk into his house, his lights change colors and brightness from his phone. He talks and his TV plays. He says, play Bob Marley, because Mike's here and he knows Mike loves Jamaica. I love everything Jamaican, especially food and music. So he says, Mike's here, play Bob Marley. And then the music comes on. And, that's Moses. He's an engineer. He loves it. And then there's me. You come to my house, it looks a certain way. You come in. I have the least amount of tech necessary to do things. I got a nice TV so I can watch, TV with my wife for the 60 minutes we have each night. I've got good speakers so I can listen to my Bob Marley, my Ziggy Marley, and my Collie Buds. I know it's a crazy name, but I like the music. And, that's me. And I don't have a lot of tech because I'm an architect, because I design, present, and sell things. So really, Ruth, is what's going to make you happy. I want you to be happy. Then, either case, you tell me which one you want, then I will give you the roadmap on how to get there. Both great jobs. Ruth, awesome information. Mike, thanks a lot. You made it easier for you to decide right now. Perfect, and that's the goal. Ruth, you can have it. You can do it, and you can have it all. But I want you to be happy not just 6 months from now, but 6 years from now, and even 16 years now. As Mark Twain said, if you can make your vacation, otherwise known as your holiday, your vocation, otherwise known as your job, you'll never work a day in your life. And I worked hard when I practiced internal medicine. And when I shifted tech, it's been the best ride of my life. I actually get paid to talk about cool toys. I mean, that's it. It's the greatest job ever. Let me mention it again. What do you call it? So it's my birthday. Take advantage of the birthday discount. If any of you guys want to build your best career, it's basically a single day's pay for the average graduate, what we charge. And so we're seriously looking. So there's that. But just tell me what you want, and I'd love to get you there. Chris, bring in the next one. Collins, cloud security architect in Houston. Collins, it's good to see you. And on Twitch, no less. Very cool. Tom Orpheus, Netherlands, had great Greek food this evening. Fantastic, Tom. Ima poli efharistimenos that you had that, which means I'm very happy if you understood me based upon that last name. Pavan, what resources, software, hardware are needed to practice the cloud architecture course? Nothing, just a computer with a web browser. We know that most people cannot afford the things that they need to practice. So we provide a complete lab environment. Our students will do everything from build their own cloud to build their own Active Directory servers to federate it, and they do it all in our data center. Sure, we do have our students do some free labs on AWS. We also have our students do some free labs on Azure, but here's the thing. No one's going to care about that. But no one cares about certification labs. And I can see these silly certification providers coming up with these ridiculous labs. And when I see them on resumes, the first thing I do is tell the students, you got to get rid of that or you won't be hired. And sure enough, they've gone on interviews, they got bombarded with nonsense. And I get rid of all that stuff, like all those Git projects and all those silly things that the certification providers are now telling people to do because they realize they've got a problem. And they realize I'm getting all their people hired that did their certifications and weren't hireable. So now they're trying to copy me and say, do this. But the labs that they're doing are all the ones that are going to make you look like an admin, not an architect. So there's that. So no, you don't need anything other than a computer and internet access. You'll have VPN access into our data center. Once you get into our data center, you will be doing all the projects that you need, all on our servers. So when we say build a cloud, I don't expect you to buy a $2,000 server that's got 16 cores and 120 gigs of DRAM, the special Xeon or EPYC CPUs that need 3 SSD drives and RAID 0. I provide it all for you. We bought a ton of servers around here. We run our own OpenStack cloud that we run everything from. We run everything from our systems. So no, there's nothing to purchase. All of it is on our systems. And we did that intently because we knew very crisply and very cleanly, we knew the following. Most people could not afford the hardware they need to get real cloud architect experience or real cloud engineer experience. So we bought so many servers. Now, the servers that are necessary for these labs are about $2,000 each. With my birthday discount, we're charging about $700 for the entire course with the server access. Clearly, Pavan, this is not about money for us. It's about getting people hired, changing people's lives, and making a difference. So nothing you need. It's all included in our program. Everything. So if you guys have some questions, please ask me. You guys are awfully quiet today. No reason to be quiet. Ask us questions. Hi, Tyrone over there in South Africa. It's so good to see you today. Hey, Mike, can you become a contributing author on the Next Generation Firewall book? Hakeem, you could write a book on a Next Generation Firewall, but I don't know why you would. I mean, I know our group writes some books, but we would never write anything on a Next Generation Firewall, and here's the reason. A firewall is only a part of security. It's a little element. And we're either training engineers and architects, and here's the difference. An architect focuses, Hakeem, and I think Hakeem, you're on my architect program, on the end-to-end solution, not a firewall. And that's the difference between the engineering mindset and the architecture mindset. I might be thinking of my security environment and say, how many next generation firewalls do I need? Do I need 2 virtual firewalls? Am I going to stack my firewalls? What are my IDS, IPS systems looking like? Where are my access control lists? What are we doing to protect our hosts? Now, what are we doing on the hosts themselves? Are we disabling services? Are we patching them? Are we using anti-malware? What kind of identity and access management strategy are we using? What are we doing with all the security logs that are coming into our organization? Is there a way to create some event-driven security based upon what's going on in the security logs? And of course there is. What do our demilitarized zones need to look like? So we would never be writing a book on a next generation firewall. Now, if I was Palo Alto, sure, they'll give you a free book on next generation firewalls that are going to show you how good their stuff is. But Hakeem, I'm an architect. I don't sell boxes. Now that's the difference, Hakeem. So, and this is a pretty critical lesson that I had a hard time learning. And most engineers did, because I started as an engineer. I went from medicine, engineer to architect. And the biggest challenge that the engineer architects have is as follows. Focusing on end-to-end, not a firewall. The engineer will focus on the firewall because that's what they configure. The architect has to focus on the end-to-end everything. Hakeem, there's really nothing that I could do to write a book on the next generation firewall. I can summarize a next generation firewall in 5 minutes or less. But that's what we're really talking about. What are we talking about with regards to a next generation firewall? We're talking, Hakeem, about a firewall that is adaptive in nature. So then when it sees an attack, it can fix it. It's got a firewall with an integrated intrusion detection. So here's the difference between a non-next generation firewall like AWS WAF, assuming you're also running some service like that gives you intrusion detection. You've been hacked, you've been hacked, you've been hacked, you've been hacked. You got hacked straight through that WAF, and then you're going to have some kind of IDS system, intrusion detection system. It'll be NACI or one of those other services, I can't think of the name right now, that'll tell you, you've been hacked, you've been hacked, you've been hacked. And Hakeem, if you think that's really good security, and I know you don't, then here's the reality. It isn't. Now, what's the next generation firewall? You're getting hacked. Poof! Boom! Let's stop the attack in real time. So yes, I will always talk about firewalls in our context of a class, because there's not a single architecture ever where we're not going to be using a next generation firewall. Well, there might be, but we're almost always going to be using next generation firewalls, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, access control lists, security groups, all kinds of things. So, I wouldn't write a book on next generation firewalls. When we write books, it's on something that's truly meaningful. We might write a book on securing your VPC. I mean, I'm not committing to that because we've got too many other things to do. And we probably wouldn't do that because with that the kind of training that we give to our internal students. But if we're going to talk about a book passing on that, it would be, how do you provide event-driven security? Or how do you secure the enterprise? We're never going to focus on one component. That's just not who we are as a company. And that's a big difference between an engineer and an architect. That engineer an engineer can spend their life on just a firewall. And they can do it. And there's lots of people that do because that's their career. But a security engineer can't just focus on the firewall. They need to focus on the security solution. And a cloud architect like me needs to focus on everything: the security, the network, the databases. What do those applications look like? Not to code them, but what do they look like? What kind of unified communications am I using for collaboration, for example? Am I using a CRM system to get me a customer relationship management system to build customer intimacy? So if I know my customers better, I can promote things to them that I'd be more likely to sell. So, those are the kind of things that we're really talking about. So, realistically, we had talked about writing some things, but it was not related to this. But Hakeem, there may be and will be another group writing project coming soon. And when that occurs, we would be more than honored for you to participate in it, because that's only available for students and you are a student. So when that time occurs, we will ask for volunteers and we'd love you to participate. But I promise you, it's going to be on something far, far, far bigger than just a firewall. Far, far, far bigger than firewall. Bo, job postings are so surreal. How do you avoid this trap? Bo, I don't exactly understand what your question actually is. So here's the thing. I'm going to tell you right now that most job descriptions are 100% complete and total garbage. In fact, I've never had more than 10% of the skills listed on a job description, and I've been hired by every single job I've been interviewed for in my entire life. I've never been on an interview that I can think of where I didn't get a job offer. But the key is really, Bo, is to know exactly what you need to be and train those skills. Now, Bo, my average student gets between 5 and 15 interview requests per week. There's one person on here, Robert Welch, who's in the chat box, who just said Palo Alto contacted me today. Robert Welch gets between 5 and 15 interview requests per day because he really maximized our advice. He's part of our class. He's exceptionally good at everything he does, and he followed our LinkedIn and resume guidance. Now, before our LinkedIn and resume workshop, which we did internally, he did not get those responses. So the key is this, but the key is, Bo, you must know the job. And the job description is 1,000% irrelevant. And here's the reason why. Let's say I want to hire a cloud architect. Now, Bo, I'm going to tell you right now, I know what a cloud architect is. I've been one for a quarter of a century. Network architect, enterprise architect, cloud architect, same job. I've been one for a quarter of a century. Do you think I'm going to write a job description? No, not at all. So if I had a cloud architect job description, what I'm going to do is as follows. I'm going to go into ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Dice, Monster.com, or some website, and I'm going to type cloud architect. Now, the next thing I realize, I'm going to pull up 30 or 40 of these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the thing that's 50 pages long that looks remarkably comprehensive. And when I read this, I'm going to say, none of this is mine. So I'm going to add 4 sentences. I want someone that knows how to design, present, and sew. Now I'm going to send that ridiculous job description to HR, and HR is going to post it. Now, I want you to understand that HR actually gets 5,000 applications for every single position. 5,000. And a company like Amazon has 25,000 open positions the last time I checked. So now think about this. So what does HR have to do? HR has to keep you from applying by putting up roadblocks. So I'm going to read to you what ultimately happened. So now that you know this, the next thing that can occur is as follows. If I keep you from applying unless you look good, then you're not going to apply. So I can thin the herd. So what happens is HR puts down these really, really, really stupid job descriptions that include everybody else's job other than ours. Now, the next thing that occurs is we interview the person, and guess what? They know everybody else's job other than the job we need to hire them from. So, Bo, let's talk about what happened. It used to be that me and my buddies, we'd get together over Zoom like every 90 days. We'd get some really good scotch like Macallan 25, and we'd all get at a Zoom meeting, and we would actually read solution architect and cloud architect job descriptions. And it was our common routine because we knew that a cloud architect didn't do that. Cloud architect designs, presents, and sells. So we used to use it as our jokes. I built a whole career out of teaching people what you really need to know as an architect and not railing about all this garbage. And then other people started to take notice that these job descriptions had nothing to do with architecture whatsoever. It got so bad that Gartner decided to investigate it. Now, if you're new to tech and you don't know Gartner are the people that evaluate everything. Want to know the best SASE solution? Ask Gartner. Best software-defined networking? Ask Gartner. Most innovative cloud? Ask Gartner. Most innovative database company? Ask Gartner. And then Gartner looked at these really ridiculous cloud architect job descriptions, and they started to say, okay, we know this is garbage. We know these descriptions are stupid and irrelevant. Let's ask our customers, what do you want in a cloud architect? So Gartner was so good about it, and my team will actually post a link to this article so you can read it yourself. So you don't just have to hear it from me. Although I've been in about 50 magazine articles, including national TV, in the last 6 months or so, talking about cloud architects. So the media comes to me, you can just Google me and you'll see it. But here's the thing. Gartner asked the chief information officer of all these companies, who is the chief information officer? It's your boss. It's your boss. You got the CEO like me that sets the strategy for the organization, and my chief information officer determines what technology is going to help me execute my strategy. So the CIO is your boss. And they're telling you, they're begging you and screaming, this is what I want in a cloud architect. So here's what they said. According to Gartner, the three main high-level responsibilities of a cloud architect are leading the cultural change for cloud adoption, developing and coordinating a cloud architecture, and developing a cloud strategy and coordinating the adoption process. So I'm going to say it again. Leading the cultural change for cloud adoption, developing and coordinating a cloud architecture, and developing a cloud strategy and coordinating the adoption process. Next, they said, what do you want your cloud architects to do during the day? And they said, find talent with the necessary skills, assess application software and hardware, create a cloud broker team, establish best practices for cloud across the company, select cloud providers and vet third-party services, oversee governance and mitigate risk, work closely with the IT security people to monitor privacy and develop incident response procedures, manage budgets and estimate costs, and operate at scale. Now, that's a pretty good list of exactly what we do. It's exactly what we architects do. It's the same job I've done for 25 years. Now, Bo, what did you not hear? You didn't hear any stupid names of any services. You didn't hear code. You didn't hear configure. You didn't hear touch the technology. You didn't hear Python. You didn't hear sysops, and you didn't hear DevOps. Bo, that's why I'm here. So you can ask me exactly how do I get to the exact job that I want. And then master those things that are related to your career, your job, and nobody else's. Don't learn anybody else's job at all, and here's the reason why. Every minute you're learning somebody else's stuff, you're not learning yours. Now, your smart competition is ready for war. It's war. Your career is war. One person gets the promotion. 50 people interview and one person gets hired. It's war. And how do you win the war? You have better weapons than your enemy. You have better training than your enemy, and you have better planning than your enemy. So, good news. Your enemy's focused on learning Python and sysops and DevOps and development, and that's not the job. So they're so distracted with irrelevant garbage. If you just focus on your job and your career and you truly master it, you'll get hired. And that's why 25-year-old Delroy Data is working as a cloud architect. 21-year-old Daniel Bosu is working as a cloud architect. 25-year-old Ivan Tamba is working for AWS as his first tech job as a cloud architect. And they're all people's first tech jobs. Coyote's first tech job out of college is a solution architect with AWS. Jessica's, was a mental health tech who's now a cloud architect. Vlad is now somebody else. And I could give you example after example after example after example, and I could go on and on and on. Master your career. Be the best at your career. Heck, Jermaine was one of my students. He was a landscaper, and he's now working as a cloud architect. The point is master your job. Be great at your job. And then the world will take notice. That's what you need to do, and you will do great, Bo. That's how you avoid the trap. And ask us your question in the chat box. Hi, Mike. Is there interview prep as part of your program? Of course there is. There's interview prep, there's salary negotiation prep, there's resume prep, there's LinkedIn prep, there's how to become an architect in there, how to present like an executive, how to develop your business acumen, how to develop your leadership skills, how to develop your sales skills, your CXO relevancy, your executive presence, of course, how to be an architect. We even cover how to build your own cloud. So, of course, Klaus, we cover everything in our program. It is a single-stop shop. I know that I could give you the best tech training in the world, but if you don't know how to interview, you're still not going to get hired. And here's the reason why. The customer has such an expectation for an architect. And it's the exact opposite of what most people try to do. We're not looking for techies at all. And what do most people do when they try to get an architect job? They get a tech cert. They're not hireable. They get another tech cert. They're not hireable. They get another tech cert. They're not hireable. They get another tech cert. They're not hireable. And then they keep going down that path. Now, what does that do, Klaus? It creates a techie. Now, this person goes and interviews for an architect job, and they want someone that's going to be wearing an Armani suit, that's got good posture and speaks like an executive and can talk like an executive and lead a group of people. And they're looking for a lion, and they're seeing a golden retriever. Both great animals, but they're different. So Of course, class, we teach that. We teach everything that is necessary to transform our people into the ultimate cloud architects or the ultimate cloud engineers based upon the program that they choose to be in. It's all covered. Negotiation of salary is covered. Resume work is covered. Interview training is covered. How do you answer interview questions is covered. Planning your career is covered. And I could go on and go on and go on. That's why I said this is a $50,000 program. Just because we charge to choose less than $1,000 does not mean it's not a $50,000 program. I just don't need to work. I came out of my retirement because I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people that took those certification courses, and not a single one of them was hireable. And I want to make the world cloud hired. I've been doing it for decades, getting people their first tech jobs, and I'd love to work with you too, Klaus. You'll do great. I'm taking a lot of my YouTube videos, and you will do fantastic. Let's go to Bose, Chris. Bo, how did you manage the transition from medicine to tech? Can anyone get a tech job? Bo, anybody can get a tech job. Anybody. Here's the thing. Daniel Bosu, high school dropout without a GED, working as a cloud architect at JP Morgan Chase. Why did I say that? Because I want you to know that he did it. Delroy Batt, 25 years old, was an EMT on ambulances. Now a cloud security architect at one of the largest gold partners in the world. Navina, someone who just got hired by Apple, for example. Let's give you another. This week, Balwinder, one of my students, just got hired from Microsoft. She was working as a customer service rep at Amazon, not AWS, in the retail department. Jermaine was a landscaper. I'd say he's about 40 years old. And he just got hired as a cloud architect. Jeffrey West was a geologist who just got hired as the cloud architect. And I often talk about young people, Bo, and here's the reason. They're the hardest to get hired. It's 10 times easier for me to get a 50-year-old hired than a 20-year-old hired. And AWS hired Ivan Tamba with zero background. His last job was serving food. They hired Coyote, who was still in school. I could give you example after example after example. People that had no experience, and this is what I'm describing, who got their first tech job as a solution architect job. I went from medicine to tech, and everybody gave me the stupidest advice ever. You got to start as an admin. You got to do help desk. And I said, I'm not doing that. Bo, my first job was as a senior network engineer, and I was the lead architect at the world's largest ISP within 6 months of the time I even thought about tech. Anyone can get a tech job. Bo, here's the greatest news ever. If I told you that 99.9% of all people in tech are completely incompetent, and it's so hard to find a qualified technology professional, that just being one, you're going to get hired. Just being one. I've got people of all ages, of all walks of life, from all countries. I've got people with no background getting hired in New Zealand, people with no background getting hired in Australia, people with no background getting hired in England, people with no background getting hired in Germany. No, but do you have to have, Bo? Competency. Competency, and that is near impossible. Now, Bo, I want to give you some secrets. I'm going to tell you right now, if you're training a certification, forget it. No one will hire you without experience because certifications don't give you competency. So here's what I did. Now, Bo, I'm going to tell you this right now. In the beginning, I made the same mistakes everybody else did. I went and spent $5,000 on a stupid certification called the MCSC 25 years ago. Then I passed the CCNA. Then I spent $11,000 on a Cisco Certified Network Professional certification. Then I had a Cisco Certified Design certification, a Cisco Certified Design Professional. I was 6X certified, and I sent in 5 resumes and got rejected. And then, Bo, I called a recruiter and said, what is you want in the perfect network engineer? And he told me. Spent about an hour with that person, Bo. Then called 49 recruiters. It cost me $5,000 in terms of gifts that I spent 25 years ago. And they all told me what's the perfect network engineer. I said, this is me. This is perfect. I filled in all the gaps. Went on my first interview and got hired for a senior network engineer on my first job. Now, Bo, in the last 25 years, 20 plus years, well, 25 years, every hiring manager I ever ran into, what do you want in the perfect employee? Every recruiter I spoke to, what do you want in the perfect employee? Every executive I spoke to in every business, what's your perfect employee? Why did you do this, Bo? Because I spent 2 decades helping people get their first tech job. So it's about being exactly what the hiring managers want. Now, Bo, what does the hiring manager want? Right now, I'm going to tell you. If you are technically competent, you're automatically in the top 5% because almost nobody's technically competent. Now, Bo, what do we have in tech? We have people that get certifications in 20 different people's careers, but they don't know theirs. So right now, just being confident will make you stand up. Now, the next things that employers are looking for are trustworthiness. Now, in tech, we have a problem. I've interviewed 6,000 people, and you know what? All but 50 have lied to me about their capabilities. Now, I can't hire anybody I don't hire anybody I can't trust, so they're all lost. Now, the next thing that we're looking for as hiring managers is this following. People that know what they know and know what they don't know so they don't make mistakes. Now, Bo, what else are we looking for? I want someone that's energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the work. That's what I need. So keep that in the back of your mind. Then I need someone that brings out the best in others. Then I need someone that's willing to go above and beyond. And look at what these young kids are telling their managers. I'm only willing to work this. I want unlimited vacation and you must pay me this. Now that person's laughed out of the room. You can't hire them. So they want someone that's willing to go above and beyond. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get the job done. And they're looking for great team players. So Bo, over the last 20 years, I've been helping people transition careers. Anyone can get any job they desire. There's nothing holding you back other than doing the work. And that's why I took a program which was easily a $50,000 program, chopped the price down to as cheap as I could get it, which is about $1,000, and then offered it at 30% off for my birthday. So yes, anybody can do any career they want. I left medicine. I've had people leave landscaping. I've had people leave law. I've had people leave accounting. I've had people leave every job you can possibly matter. And the key is you have to be great at your job. Now, Bo, it's so easy. Everybody's so thrown off by all these silly job descriptions. They're so busy learning everybody else's job that they can't do theirs. So become great at your job. Anybody can do it. It doesn't matter your background. If you have the goals and you build the plan and you execute on that plan and you don't quit until you win. Now, Bo, it's all in the mind. I had a bad accident in Israel. I was doing some martial arts and I couldn't walk for 8 years. 13 orthopedic surgeons told me I would never walk again. Half a dozen physiatrists told me I'd never walk again. Pain management specialists wanted to give me a fentanyl patch. I laughed at them and said, no, if you give me a fentanyl patch, I'll be stoned and I won't be able to do rehab and get better. I don't need pain meds. I lived in a lot of pain, but the point is it's there. Now I'm back to doing what I love doing, helping people get hired. So the point is everyone can do it and you can do it too. But you got to believe in yourself. You got to build the right plan, get the right training, execute on that plan, and not quit until you get there. And Bo, when you're trying to achieve something complicated, and you can do it, it's going to get a little tough along the way. So when it gets tough, keep going. When it gets harder, fight harder until you win. Bo, build the career of your dreams, build a life that you love, and go after it. Yes, I left medicine for tech. It was no big deal. Take the lessons of your life, translate it to your new career, master your new career, and you'll love your life. That's my recommendation. Pavan, okay, this is someone that clearly it looks like you've got a tech thinking background or an engineer background. Does designing, presenting, and selling require a high IQ? Here's the difference, Pavan. This is not, all good jobs require a relatively high IQ, but it's not the IQ for these jobs. It's your EQ or your emotional intelligence, and that can be taught. The difference between a $100,000 engineer or architect and a $500,000 engineer and architect is the executive presence, the communication skills, the leadership skills. the emotional intelligence, the business acumen, the communication skills, the sales skills. Nobody is born knowing any of these things. We're all taught, Pavan, humans have zero instinct. Did you know a human baby will die within 72 hours if it's not taken care of? A human baby doesn't know to drink. It doesn't know to eat. It doesn't know anything, and it can't even do it. Human babies have no abilities. We humans learn everything. Compare this to my cat, Cindy. Her mother died in the wild. But cats have instincts. The cat knew to eat bugs and lizards and frogs until somebody found it and picked it up, and then I brought her to my house, and she rescued me by making me happy every day. But the point is we are not animals. We have no instincts, Pavan. Everything we learn is learned. I didn't know how to practice medicine. I was taught that way. I didn't know how to scuba dive. I had to learn that too. Wasn't born knowing yoga. Now I'm a yoga instructor because it's my hobby. It's my passion. It's my fun. I was not born knowing cloud architecture, network architecture, BGP, virtual machines, none of it. It's all learned. It's all learned. So you have to learn it. I was trained in how to do this. I wasn't born knowing how to do this. Nobody's born knowing how to be a lawyer, fly an airplane, being a doctor. It's all learned. But in these cases, these jobs, and the really good work that you really should study is your IQ only gets you this far. It's your EQ or your emotional intelligence that gets you much harder. It's your adversity quotient, which is how hard you're willing to work and how hard you're willing to fight, that gets you harder. It's not your IQ. That's down here. It gets you to this level. But to go from this level to this level, that's your EQ. And of course, that's trained as well. Now, realistically speaking, I probably have $50,000 of training in emotional intelligence. Just emotional intelligence. And I provide extensive emotional intelligence training for my students because that's the biggest thing. So all of this can be taught. There is no career where you're born knowing it. None, zero. The only thing that we're born knowing to do is breathe. And our heart beats automatically through our autonomic nervous system. Those things are natural. Everything else is learned, and learned. So if you want it, go learn it. You'll be great. Just learn it. Please bring us your questions. Put them in the chat box. Hi, Mike. Do you train DevOps engineers? Secondly, what is the roadmap of a DevOps engineer and how do they need to understand the various tools? Reverend Sama, I am not a DevOps engineer. I don't train DevOps engineers. And the advice that I could give you is if you're interested in DevOps engineering, is to follow my good friend Sandeep Das on both LinkedIn and YouTube. This is not a world that I do. I will tell you, Reverend Sama, that if you want to be a DevOps engineer, make sure that you are a really good software engineer first. And if you're not a good software engineer first, make sure you become a good software engineer first. Because the DevOps engineers really need to be full stack developers having good software engineering before they get into DevOps. So there is that. But no, I don't train anything. And here's the reason, Reverend Sama. I try to avoid anything that's a heavy programming career, because programming careers, as a rule, are commodity careers that get outsourced a lot. So I try to avoid training my people in anything but the best and highest paying jobs. I do think the DevOps engineer is a good career, but I am not a DevOps engineer. And I don't feel strongly enough about it to hire somebody to teach the DevOps engineering program at this point. That doesn't mean that I won't at some point in the future. If I can find a really good DevOps engineer that can also communicate, that can also teach and other things, I'd consider it. But Sandeep Das would be the person that I would follow if you wanted to learn DevOps engineering. He's an exceptionally good DevOps engineer. He does a lot of free training, and he's a very good guy. I occasionally have him on my YouTube channel. He sometimes has me on his. But those DevOps engineers are going to need to know a lot of software engineering first. Then after the software engineering, they're going to need to learn DevOps and all those tools that they use on a routine basis. And then they need to learn the cloud DevOps. But it's not something I do. It's not something I teach. I don't know if I ever will, but because I'm not a DevOps engineer, but I'd consider it moving forward. I do think it's in one of the top 5 careers. But if you're more of a reverend, I'm going to tell you right now, you'll have a much easier time becoming a cloud architect, and you'll get paid 2 to 3 times more as a cloud architect than you will as an engineer. If you leverage all these soft skills, emotional intelligence, and communication skills of the reverend, I think that would probably be a much better long-term career plan for you. But if you want to go from talking to people like you're doing now to all-day coding and configuring, the DevOps engineer is a good career. It is. It's just not playing to your strengths. Now, having said that, you can do any career you like. And it doesn't matter which one you do at all. At all. So do what's going to make you happiest. Your past does not define your future, but a reverend that's leading a large flock, that's giving constant presentations, realize you've been job training to be a cloud architect or solution architect your whole life. And if you choose to leverage that, you will be leaps and bounds above the rest. Just a thought, just to give you a thought. But all of it's good. Do what you love. Talk with Iman. Hello, sir, can you go for your solution architect professional certification? After the solution, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. I would tell you not to listen to those certification providers that are telling you to waste your time studying DevOps and SysOps and cloud developers. Don't do it at all. Iman, what would you like to do first? That's the first thing, because I want to make sure that it makes sense. The first certification exam you could be the AWS Solution Architect Professional. I did, just for fun, I decided to take the Google Professional Cloud Architect exam, spent a weekend in preparation and took it. It was nothing. So there's no rules where you need to start. But definitely don't take 5 certifications to pass that Certified Solution Architect Associate. I do the associate first, the professional first, and that's what I tell my students. I make sure my students don't do the SysOps, DevOps certs unless that's the career they want. And Iman, I'm going to tell you this right now. Every time I see some resume where, and I know which people have made these recommendations, and it's got a SysOps associate, a DevOps associate, a developer associate, an AWS Solution Architect Associate, a cloud practitioner, and then a Certified Solution Architect Professional, that's one person that's not getting a job. And they come to me after not being hireable for a year, and we'll get rid of all those certifications like the SysOps, the cloud developer, the DevOps, get them off the resume, stop talking about them, and talk about architecture for my students. And once they're trained, they get hired immediately. So go straight into the exam you want. Do not get 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 certifications. It depends on the career you want. As an engineer, you can have up to 3 or 4 certifications before it damages your career. As an architect, you get more above than 2 or 3, and you are done. So, for example, if you are an architect, you might have something like a CCNP and a Certified Solution Architect Professional. I wouldn't even put the associate one on your resume, because you don't want to list more than 2, because you want to be Iman. If you're, as an architect, a digital transformation specialist, you can't afford to look like a certification junkie. Companies don't want certification junkies. They want capable people. That's what you need to do. I don't know which job you want, but yeah, go do it. Don't waste your time on a bunch of other certifications. Go straight from the associate to the professional. Good job. Do I recommend any certifications? Klaus? Well, the answer is yes. So I want to make this very clear. Certifications won't get you hired. I'm going to say it again. Certifications won't get you hired. I'm going to say it again. Certifications won't get you hired. And it's so important, I'm going to say it again, loudly. Certifications will not get anybody a job ever, except for the CCI. So now that we've done our complete and total disclaimer about the value of certifications, or the lack thereof, Klaus, let's talk about certifications and where they could potentially help you. They make it easier for you to get an interview. Now, once you get that interview, the certification can work for you or against you. If you've got certifications and things you don't know well, they're going to ask you certification questions, and then you're going to look like a fool, and they won't hire you. And that's why you should get rid of everything that's not your biggest strength on your resume. So what should you do? Now, I like to see 2 certifications on a cloud architect resume. And they can be as follows. One of them should be either, not all, but either the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert, or the Google Professional Cloud Architect. One of the above, and I strongly recommend it's the AWS one or the Azure one. Strongly, strongly, strongly recommend. So there's that. And the next one should be a network or data center one. Now, optimally, I like the CCNP, the enterprise. I like that. I also like the CISSP if you're interested in security. And I have mixed feelings about Linux certifications. If you were a Red Hat certified engineer, that's probably a good data center one, but I wouldn't do it if you already weren't. So there is that. And why are we doing these certifications class? It's to create the fake illusion of competency. All of us know that certifications are meaningless in the hiring space, but when you see someone with a certified solution architect professional and a CCNP, your hope is that they know something about networking and cloud. Now, you're not sure, but your hope is, and you might bring them in for an interview. So yeah, that's where it helps. That's where that helps. So it kind of depends on that. But yeah, I typically like two. I like the CCIE, Certified Solution Architect Professional. But class, what you really need to remember is, what are your goals? And class, it all goes back to what my manager told me 20 years ago. I was doing another certification. I think it was a CISSP certification, which was a nothing certification. I finished it in 5 days. And my manager pulls me into a room and he's like, Mike, he's like, can we talk? And I said, yeah. And he said, the reason I pulled you into this room is you fell asleep in the silly certification training, which I mandated you to go to. And I'm like, yeah. And he says, do you know the difference, Mike, between a $150,000 systems engineer, sales engineer like you, and a $250,000, $300,000 enterprise architect or distinguished engineer? I was like, tell me. And he said, stop doing certifications other than this one that I forced you to do. He said, stop focusing on your tech. You've already exceeded what you can do with your tech skills. He said, increase the impact you can make on your customer. He told me, train your sales skills, work on your executive presence, work on your leadership skills, work on your emotional intelligence, work on your business acumen, your presentation skills, your ability to exercise influence. And you will be that $300,000 enterprise architect or that $250,000, $300,000 distinguished engineer, whichever you want. So took the training, and then I was one. I was earning more, and it's never the certification. So I do recommend two. Now, mind you, I view the certifications as like a checkoff list. There's nothing in them that's valuable except for the CCIE. Nothing in them at all that has any value whatsoever. So it's kind of like putting on the tie. If it's a nice tie, you look better that day. It's like polishing your shoes. That's what I consider a certification, like shoe polish. It makes your shoes look shinier, which makes you look better to get to the interview. But once we interview you, Klaus, it's all up to what you know. And it has absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing in any way, shape, or form to do with anything that's in certification, not even 1%. So keep that in the back of your mind. So yes, I recommend one cloud cert, either the Azure Solutions Architect Expert, the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional, or the Google Professional Cloud Architect. They're all the same thing. It's the same tech. Do I call this a cell phone? Do I call it a mobile phone? Do I call it a kinito, which is what I call it in Greece? It's a phone. It's just the same thing. The name has changed. So yes, those are the certifications that we're talking about. And one data center or networking one or security one, and then you're good to go. Robert Welch, he's one of my students. He's an amazing cloud security architect. Palo Alto reached out to you today. Of course they did, Robert Welch. You are a rock star in terms of security capabilities. And you've maximized our LinkedIn and resume work. So, super happy to hear this. Can't wait to get this cloud hired from you, Robert. Let me know if you need anything along the way. Cloud hired soon, Robert. Yes. While we're at it, if you're trying to get your first cloud job, take advantage of my 30-day birthday coupon code. Such good news, Robert. I can't wait till you tell me you're cloud hired. You know exactly how excited I get. Collins, Mike, this program has made you a mini hiring manager. That's the whole goal, Collins. You can look friends' resumes with a bunch of certifications for different roles. I asked them what you want. With this on your resume, no one will hire you. Exactly, Collins. The whole point is this. If you know your customer and you know what your customer wants and you can solve your customer's problem, they always buy from you. And when you're getting hired, that's what they want. They want someone that's so good at the job they can do the job. And Collins, before you can get hired for the job, you must know it. So I'm not going to say it's the easiest book to read, because it isn't. I'm not going to say that I didn't have to read it 6 times until I truly understood it. And I read it 37 times at this point. But I strongly recommend reading The Art of War. It used to be mandatory part of everybody's MBA program. And then the business world, which is still vital, combat and war, decided to talk about it and didn't like the way it sounded, so they don't teach it in most MBA programs. But critical training. If you know yourself and you know your enemy, you will always be victorious. Yourself, the hiring manager. If you know yourself but not your enemy, your hiring manager, for every win will be one loss. If you know what the hiring manager wants but not your strengths and weaknesses, for every win will be one loss. Now, most people, Collins, don't know themselves. They don't know their enemy, and they lose. So, know yourself, Collins. Know your enemy. Always be victorious. That's why I'm turning you into a mini hiring manager. I'm also teaching you what your competition knows or lacks thereof. There are other ways. Competing for these jobs so you can feel more secure. And you can know your job. And you can win. I love to win. Just love it. So, great job, Collins. You're doing it right. In a very short period of time, you've learned so much and you were doing so good. Last Raven, without prior tech experience, what do you need to be a solutions architect? What do you need to become a solutions architect to an enterprise architect? You've done networking, CCNA, A+ cloud practitioner, solutions architect. Last Raven, you haven't done anything related to becoming a solutions architect. You've done engineering training. So I would take the A+ off of your resume. We take it off of resumes constantly. The CCNA is a good junior intro thing, and the solutions architect associate is good. So you're not going to become an enterprise architect in your first job, but you can probably become an enterprise architect in your second job. So the things that you're going to need to learn, which are not covered here, are as follows. First, realize you've done a bunch of certifications, and they will equate to no architect jobs whatsoever. And here's the reason why. The cloud practitioner solutions architect is the name of the service and how to configure it. The A+ is PC repair. It's perfect if you want to work at Best Buy in the Geek Squad. Potentially helpful if you want to work help desk, but it's going to get in the way of your resume as an architect, so I would strongly recommend removing that. The CCNA is a good one. That's the only one there that's potentially pretty helpful, because that hopefully taught you subnetting, and it hopefully taught you a little bit about NAT, and hopefully taught you a little bit of switching, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, etc. So last Raven, what you need to know is as follows. First, what you have here is 3 to 5% of what you need to know. So let's talk about the other 95 to 97%. And I hate hearing you took this. I hope you didn't take one of these $30,000 and $40,000 boot camps that's designed to level you up and get you a job, because I get their students and I have to completely retrain them and get them hired. And I also retrain the people that do the 2-year master's degree programs, because they're being taught things, because none of them are teaching architect work. They're all teaching generic cloud stuff. And an architect, Les Raven, designs, presents, and sells. So what you need to learn, which is not covered in any of these things that you've talked about so far, is BGP. You must master BGP. And not simple how to configure it like router BGP 653.212, neighbor 192.168.1.1, remote AS 653.1.4. No, not that kind of stuff. I need you to understand BGP and BGP traffic engineering. So you need to have a full understanding of BGP. Ideally, you've got a good understanding of an interior gateway protocol as well, like OSPF, and not just how to turn it on, how to constrain the LSAs, what kind of LSAs exist in which regions, how do you tune it, where are you summarizing. Now, next, you need to understand IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route summarization, etc. Next, switching. Spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking protocols, all critical stuff. port channel, ether channel, link aggregation group, that stuff. NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. Now we're talking CCIE level for knowledge for these things, not CCNA level, or at least CCNP knowledge. Because remember, we're going to design it. It's not about configuring, it's about design. So then you should understand router redundancy protocols such as VRRP and how you can load share across these things. You should understand about ARP and proxy ARP and DNS and DHCP. So that's a start. Now on the data center side, you're going to need to know the following. You're going to need to understand servers and server virtualization, which again is not covered in any of those things that you're really talking about. You're going to need to understand containers and container orchestration. Now you can get about 1,000 pages of reading to truly get some understanding on this, from the KVM website, the QEMU website, the Citrix Zen website, the VMware ESXi website. After that, what's going to have to happen is you're going to need the same thing on Docker and Kubernetes. Again, you get that information from Docker, Kubernetes, OpenShift. I'll give you some good information, VMware, give you great information on that. Now storage, and what's covered in the Certified Solution Architect Professional isn't even an intro to junior level storage. So you're going to need to know storage. So if you're in our training, we'll teach it to you. But if you're not, don't worry, you can still get it. Go to IBM and Dell EMC, read a good 500 pages on block storage, object storage, and file storage, and you'll get it. And then when you're done that, start learning databases, and not DynamoDB or Google Cloud Bigtable or Microsoft Cosmos. We can't use them, they're proprietary. So really get good at knowing about NoSQL databases like Apache Cassandra and MongoDB. Get used to the Oracle database, the Microsoft SQL database, the MariaDB database, the Postgres database, the MySQL, and how you tune them and expand them and make them work. Next, when you're done that, and again, you can learn that in 500 to 5,000 pages about that. Learn the business applications that transform business, ERP systems, CRM systems, unified communication systems, supply chain systems, all of it. Because Last Raven, our job is digital transformation, which means we have to know what tools we have. Now, when you're done that, you need to really learn load balancers. But what's covered in the Certified Solution Architect Professional doesn't scratch the surface of anything. So go to F5. Go to their website, read about 400 or 500 pages about how their load balancers and reverse proxies work, and now you'll be able to know it to architect it. Same thing on security. What's covered in the AWS Advanced Security isn't even an intro to an intro to an intro to an intro to junior level anything. But you can go to the Cisco website, the Palo Alto website, the Fortinet website, and the Checkpoint website, and read a couple thousand pages on firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, and poof, you're going to be there. And you'll be getting hired. And those are the skills. Now, mind you, I just covered the tech. Now, this is a job, Last Raven, of design, present, and sell. So even if you've read those 25,000 pages of materials, you're still not getting hired as an architect unless you have the following. You must be able to command a room, which means you're going to need good executive presence. We teach it, but if you're not with us, spend the 10 grand on executive presence training, and that's the cheapest it's going to be. You are going to need to how to present in front of an audience of thousands of people. If you are with us, we teach it. If you are not with us, spend the $5,000 for the presentation skills training, because you can't get hired without it. We teach it all. Make sure you have something called CXO relevancy training. And, what do you say to the CEO? What do they care about versus the CIO versus the CFO? Do that. You can take our training, or you can spend 5-10 grand and get it. If you don't want to get it from us, I don't care. It's all covered in our $700 course with my birthday discount. You can do it anywhere you want. I just want you to know what it's going to take to get hired. Now, Last Raven, remember, we architects don't touch the tech ever. We design it, present it, and sell it, which is why all the stuff taught on certification is silly. That's the name of the service and how to configure it. But we have to build a team. We have to do proof of concepts, which means we've got to go to the CEO of our company, the senior vice presidents of our company, the executive vice presidents of our company, the directors, and the hiring managers, and say, I need to borrow your people for 6 months. That requires a lot of sales skills and a lot of leadership skills. So if you're with us, great. If not, go spend some money on it, because you're not going to get hired without it. Now, when you're done that, make sure you take some training on executive writing. We teach that. And if you have no tech experience, you're going to have to look better than the rest, which means you're going to need some resume training, and you're going to need a lot of interview training. So again, you can buy that, or you can just take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. If you do that, you will get hired. I get people hired with no experience every single day of the week, every day, of all ages, of all varieties. It doesn't matter. But Last Raven, the key is they all did 1,000,000 certifications, and none of them were hireable because the certifications are meaningless. They are the name of a service and how to configure it. So I want you to understand the job of an architect, the job of a doctor, the job of the lawyer is the same as a strategy consultant. So here's the thing. I used to practice medicine, Last Raven, before I became an architect. That's how I learned how. What would happen is a patient would come to the office. They'd have something called the chief complaint. And how do we find that out? Hi, patient. What brought you in today? My throat hurts. Okay, patient. The next thing a doctor does, a nurse practitioner does, a physician assistant does, is they examine the patient. They look in their eyes, their ears, their nose, their throat. They feel their lymph nodes. We listen to their hearts and lungs. And then we make a diagnosis and we come up with a plan called the prescription. Okay, what do I do as an architect? I meet with the CEO of the business. Tell me about your business goals, your business pain points, your business challenges, huh? Then I bring in a team of cloud engineers to examine the systems. Then I make a diagnosis and a plan. Doctor, interview a patient. Architect, interview a client. Doctor, collect and assess the patient. Architect, collect and assess the patient. Doctor, make a diagnosis. Architect, diagnosis. Doctor, write a prescription. Architect, make a plan. So see, that's the job. So that's what you need to do is you need to be great at this job. Show the hiring manager that you're competent, capable, and exactly what they need. So we'd love to train you, Last Raven. We can easily get you hired. We've gotten people hired every single day of the week, whether it be Jermaine, who was a landscaper who got his first cloud job, or Jeannie, who was a behavioral health tech who just got her first cloud architect job, or Navina, who took off 8 years to raise a baby, who just got her big tech job, or Balwinder, who spent the last 8 years in customer service and caring for a baby, who got her first cloud job, whether it's Delray Bat, who's 25 and he just got his first cloud job, whether it's Daniel Bosa, who's 21 and he got his first cloud job. None of these people had any tech experience. Jeffrey West, who was a geologist who got his first cloud job. Coyote, who had no experience, who got his first tech job. I could go on, and I could go on, and I could go on, and I can go on. No, Last Raven, I'm going to tell you right now. Most of the students took one of those boot camps from $5,000 to $35,000. Had certifications. We had to remove these certifications from the resume because they won't ever get you anything. You have to be the skills, and you can do it. You can do it. You can do it, and we can get you there. Or you can do it on your own, but it's going to cost you a lot more on your own. I don't really care how you do it. I just want you to be hired. And Last Raven, when you've taken my advice and you followed it, and you will be hired, tell me because I can't wait to hear about it. I love it when somebody gets caught hired, and you can do it. But that's what you need to do. W, after getting cloud hired, what are some good goals to set? I'm going to ask you that question. What would you like to do? What are your goals? I can't tell you what your goals are. What's my goal? Well, spend more time with my wife, hug my cat Cindy a little more, and get the world cloud hired. What's your goal? And I'm not trying to be facetious, but I don't know your goal. If you want to be a chief technology officer, sure, you can do that. Build a path. If you want to be a VP of systems engineering, sure, do that. If you want to be a full-fledged sales rep because they earn the most money, go do that. I don't know what your goals are, W. Maybe you want to be an enterprise architect. Maybe you want to stay a cloud architect. Maybe you want to be a distinguished architect. There's so many things that you can do, W, and they're all great. Now, what should you do? What's going to make you happy? How do you want to spend your life? What will you do that you can go to work each day and say, thankfully, somebody's willing to pay me to do my hobby. That's what you should do. I don't know what you want to do. I wish I did. The good news is there's room for all of us, W. Find the one thing that you love more than anything else. Find something you truly, 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 truly love and go do it. And it doesn't matter what that thing is. Just go do it. But find something you love, 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 love. Let's face it. If I was just looking for money, I'd be working in tech. I'm doing this cloud hired thing because I love getting you guys hired. I love it. My students, my YouTube people, I love it. I live for it. So what will make you up every morning? What are you going to do when you think about that's going to make you want to go to bed early at night so you can wake up and be better at it and refresh the next day? What's your dream? That's what you should do. That's your good career goals to set. And they're different for everybody. Angela, what age is too old to start with? You're concerned about ageism? I'd say 80 years old is pushing it. Now, Angelica, there is no such thing as ageism. There's people that think there's ageism, but that's not true. There might be some degree of ageism, but in tech, we're not dealing with any ageism. We're dealing with a shortage of anybody that can do the job. Now, there is a way to play the game. I'm going to tell you right now, Angelica, it's much easier for me to get a 55-year-old hired than a 25-year-old hired. It's so much easier. It's easier for me to get a 60-year-old hired than a 20-year-old hired too. Because here's the thing. When we're 60 or 50, we've got life experience. When we're 20, we have none. The lessons we learned in our life, whether they be practicing medicine, being a dad, being a mom, being a manager, will carry over with us from every career. When we've got a young person, like a Daniel Bosu, who recently got his first cloud architect job, his plan is different. We need to show his degree of extreme discipline, his never quit, his attitude, energy, enthusiasm, and we've got to fight harder to prove his competency. When we've got a 40-year-old or a 35-year-old, that's the sweet spot. Because here we're dealing with someone that can say, I learned quick, but they still have life experience. Still have life experience. So there's that. When we're dealing with someone that's older, we've got wisdom, experience, and all these wonderful things. So because of that, we can play that game with our wisdom and experience. There's no concept of ageism in tech. In fact, I don't even know that I believe in ageism, period. I believe a lot of people make up excuses when they're not successful and they blame something else. So don't worry so much about ageism. I hire people that are 20, I'll hire people that are 70, I'll hire people that are 90. I don't really care. In fact, I think I might have even just found somebody that's close to 70 years old to help augment something I'm doing on a per-needed basis. And I'm all kinds of excited about it. I've got age ranges of 20 to 66 in my program in my company. And the reality is we need people of all walks of life, of all education, of all experience, of all cultures and all training. That's the only way we can innovate. It's the only way. If, for example, then if you want to be something, just do it. Don't worry about your age. Don't make up excuses. 13 doctors told me I couldn't walk again. I laughed at them. Now I'm the CEO of a company. I don't walk very far, but I walk. When I was told you can't leave medicine for tech, the world told me I couldn't do it. I said, yeah. 6 months later, I was a tech lead. Don't worry about ageism. Worry about being the best. Stop worrying about little, silly, trivial nonsense and focus on the big, big, big thing. There is an incredible shortage of people that can actually do the job. I mean, an incredible shortage. I can interview 10,000 people, Angelica, and not find a single person that can do it. Just be great. Just be great and don't worry about it. You know, I celebrated a new birthday. I'm getting close to 50. Next year, I'll be 50. Great. Guess what? I got a lot of experience. I got a lot of things that I can help others. When I'm 70, guess what? I've got more experience. Now, you still have to have the energy, the enthusiasm, the passion, but stop worrying about things like ageism. Start focusing on how you can be the best. Now, don't focus on, the focus on the employee on an interview is how do you help the customer? Now, lots of people focus on what they want out of the relationship. You're not getting hired. Now, here's the thing. If you go on an interview and don't have the skills to do the job, you're not going to get hired. So if you don't have the skills and you don't get hired, don't think ageism, think about how you can be better. Master it and you'll get hired. So that's my philosophy. I don't believe in excuses. I believe in, functioning. If you'd see the people that I've gotten hired, and I've hired people that were elderly this year, that had strokes in the past, that got huge jobs. And I've gotten young people huge jobs. It's up to you. Vinay, what is the roadmap for a .NET developer of 7 years experience getting into the cloud? Well, for one thing, realize that your experience as a developer has nothing to do with what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing designing, presenting, and selling. So what you have to learn is exactly what everybody else has to learn: the network and the data center and system design, which means you need to learn BGP, interior gateway protocols, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting. Route aggregation. It means you understand WAN technologies such as IPsec tunnels, SSL-based VPNs, private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, and SASE. It means switching, which includes VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, for example, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, link aggregation group, Ether channel, virtual router redundancy protocols, and all these other things. It means NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, port address translation. And here's the reason, Vinay. The cloud is a network and a data center, so we have nothing to do with software development at all. It's completely irrelevant. So the key is, if you want to be an architect, it's all about design. So first we talked about the network. What do you need on the data center? Server virtualization containers, container orchestration, block storage, file storage, object storage, relational databases, no SQL databases, business applications, next generation firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems. On the business side, sales skills, executive presence, communication skills, leadership skills, emotional intelligence, ROI modeling, and those are the same things. So what you're dealing with is the same skills that if you had no background or a tech background to learn. And that's the thing, Vinay, here, because a cloud architect designs, presents, and sells a network and data center solution, experience as a .NET developer is not helpful, or any developer is not helpful. So there's that. So kind of keep this in the back of your mind. The back of your mind, that is what we do. We design, present, and sell. So the roadmap is to learn how to design, present, and sell. And there is no specialization that's going to come from your things, unless you wanted to just say, let me become an application architect. Now, if you wanted to have an application architect, be an application architect, you could do that, but it's not a cloud architect. But that's the thing. That's what you need to do. So it's the same roadmap as if someone's new. Now, Vinay, here's the good news. When I've got someone with 7 years of software development experience, if they learn architecture and forget about being an engineer, we're typically getting them a really good salary as the first cloud architect job. In fact, I had someone that was a developer that got a $275,000 salary. All he had to learn was not talk about software development and only talk about those things that I had, and he got a great one. As for people that have questions, I saw it in the chat box. If they have a question, they can ask the question here. I don't have the time or ability to do personal questions. They can book one. It's going to take about 8 weeks in advance to book a private session for me, and there's a private to do that. But if they've got a question, they can ask me right now, or they can call our office and speak to somebody from our team like Alonzo. I want to make sure we help everybody. That's why I'm here 3 times a week, to answer questions. James T. Hi, Mike. I'm enrolled in your architecture course. You've been part of the program since mid-July. Should I watch the older video in the beginning? I would. I would start from the beginning and go through them. I would watch every video in order. Video 1, video 2, video 3, video 4, video 5. That's why we have them there. The more videos you watch, the better you're going to be. The better you're going to be. You have a Red Hat background. How can you use that to your advantage? Well, Red Hat is an operating system that's widely used in the data center. So James T., I would talk about how your Linux experience, ideally, maybe you know about the Linux kernel. Ideally, you know about Linux hypervisors like KVM and QEMU. Ideally, with your time in Linux, you know something more about DNS. Ideally, with your time in Linux, you've got more knowledge on DHCP. Ideally, with your time in Linux, you've had exposure to certain things like containers and container orchestration. Those would be the skills that are valuable. Now, James T., all that time that you spend in VI or Vim and Nano and configuring, that's completely unrelated to anything that we do because we design, present, and sell. But it's a good question. Sing, if I learn Google Cloud, how much of the concepts are the same from the AWS? Okay, Sing, here's the thing. If you learn the Google Cloud like the certification way, it's going to be all brand new for you to learn the AWS Cloud. Now, Sing, if you actually learn the cloud and not Google, you would know them all. And here's the difference. Most people, when they try to learn the cloud, they do it the certification way. Here is a compute engine instance. Here is Cloud Bigtable. Here is Cloud BigQuery, and it does this. If that's your knowledge, you're going to have to start from scratch. Now, by comparison, if you learn the cloud the same way you'd learn how to drive, and you didn't learn any of these ridiculous names of services and how to configure those services, then and only then would you be good. So if you knew what a virtual machine was for real, and you studied it the way we teach it, it doesn't matter if it's an Azure virtual machine, a Google Compute Engine instance, an AWS EC2 instance is an Oracle virtual machine, or a VMware ESI system sitting in your data center, then you're good. If you understand block storage, whether it's sitting in your data center, whether it's sitting inside of your AWS environment, and they choose to call it S3, which is ridiculous. Your data center, you call it object storage. Google calls it cloud storage, and Azure calls it blob. Learn to drive the car. Learn the cloud. Don't learn any cloud provider, and then you'll know all the clouds. So if you truly know the cloud, it's the same. I'm a cloud architect. I design a solution. I don't ever use these stupid names. I can't afford to, because everything that I do is all going to be the same. If I'm a construction worker and I need a brick, does it matter which store I buy the brick from? Of course not. It's just a brick. If I need a virtual machine, it doesn't matter which silly cloud I stick it on. It's just a rented network in a data center. So Sing. And I love that name. I love anything that means lion. What I would say is go be a lion and go learn the cloud, and then you'll know all of them. And you'll be in great shape. That's the way we teach it. And then, Chris, you can bring in the next one. Rolando, can you get hired with experience and only having certifications? No. But if you have the right knowledge, the right skills, and the right training, then of course, the right thing for you to do is to get training and get there. But the certification piece, Rolando, is not enough for anything. And here's the reason why. We design, present, and sell as architects. And Red Hat certifications are about configuring. CCNP is about configuring. And the AWS exams are about configuring. So no, that's not going to be enough for anything. But if you can tell me the career that you'd like, I'll be able to help you get there. But no, certifications by themselves are not enough for anything. You need knowledge. You need capabilities. And you don't get knowledge and capabilities from certifications. You get the name of a service and how to configure that. Now, Rolando, if you're an architect, none of these things teach you how to design, present, and sell. So they're completely not lack of preparation. And if you were an engineer, look at it this way. And if you were an engineer, this still isn't teaching you the Terraform, the Python. It may teach you some bash shell scripting. It's not teaching you how to do any of the cloud engineering. So again, it's still not teaching you anything. So no, you can get hired by learning the right skills. Tell me the job you want, and I will tell you exactly what you need to get there. But no, there is no such thing as a cloud architect that's getting hired based on certifications. Now, you can get hired without a degree. I've gotten somebody a cloud architect job that dropped out of high school and didn't even have a GED. But it's not based on certifications. It's a very specialized training. Tell us your career you want, and then we'll tell you what you need to learn. But I got to tell you, if you have that many certifications, you're going to have to remove half of them on your resume. Other than you won't be taken seriously. Kira, some people say that you should have at least 2 years of hands-on experience with AWS Solutions Architect Professional. Personally, I'd say they're retarded. That's the stupidest advice I've ever heard. You could take this exam with no background, no experience, and with the right training, prep for it in a couple of weeks. So what I say is don't listen to people that give you stupid reasons why you can't achieve anything. ever, ever, ever. It's the silliest thing in the world. 13 doctors told me I couldn't walk. I say they were crazy. About 10 people told me the only thing I could do would be a network admin as my first job. I say that's nonsense. I say it's stupid. I say you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. Go past whatever you want. You can do it. Don't let anybody hold you back. Why would you take 2 years to do something that you could do in 2 weeks? Just go do it. There's no rule. None. I was told I needed to have 5 years experience before thinking about the CCIE. I did it in 6 months. This is people that are holding people back, and that's why I called it stupid. There are people that want to be elite and say, I'm better than you, and they keep you from doing things that you can do. You can do it. Don't let anybody hold you back. Just do it. Just do it. There are people that really want to hold you down so they can feel good about themselves. And that's why I call this stupid, because it frustrates me. Go do what you want and go be successful. Never, never, never let anybody tell you need to do something. If you can pass it, then go do it. Then go do it. So I don't think you need to worry about it. I think you can do the associate. As soon as you're done that associate, 3 weeks later, do the professional, 4 weeks later, as fast as you can do it, and be done with it. And then after that, focus on learning all the things that you need to learn. So I think we can take a few extra questions today. There is one question that's asking me about from Bo. What should you consider whether to join the cloud architect or cloud engineer? Bo, it's all about what you want to do. If you want a job as a business executive where you design, present, and sell, take the cloud architect program. If you want to be a hands-on techie, then take the cloud engineering program. That's it. But so the cloud architect will go to meetings, design, present, and sell stuff. And the cloud engineer, by comparison, is going to be coding and configuring and being hands-on. So Bell, it's all about that. So realistically speaking, that's it. That's your entire solution. Now, Chris, let's partially get to Nadir's question. I'm going to make it very clear for people. For people that want to become a cloud architect, the only program we're ever going to recommend is the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. For someone that wants to become a cloud engineer, we're only going to recommend the Cloud Engineering Program. For someone that wants to move into management, we recommend our Tech Career Accelerator Program. That's it. And so if you're a cloud architect and you want to become a distinguished architect, we recommend the Tech Career Accelerator Program. If you're an engineer and you want to move into VP of Engineering, we recommend the Tech Career Accelerator Program. If you desire a career as a cloud architect, we recommend the Cloud Architect Program, and that's it. And if you desire a career as a cloud engineer, we recommend the Cloud Engineering Program. Now, Nadir, if you've got questions behind that, you're more than welcome to speak to anybody on my team. You can call the number in the chat box, or you could try and book a private session with me, although that will be about 6 to 8 weeks before we can speak. Or that's why I'm here completely free 3 times per week. Or you can actually call the office and speak to somebody on the team. So let's make sure we get you what you need to, but I tried to make that as simple as possible for you. I can probably do 1 or 2 more questions. I think we can address the TOGAF question real simply. Thoughts on TOGAF? I believe that to be a great architect, you need to design, present, and sell. And I've gotten hundreds of people getting architect jobs. I can't even count anymore. I stopped counting at 100, but they kept going. None of them have ever had TOGAF. Now, I'm going to tell you this, Red Robin. I built my career by translating this TOGAF, theoretical fluff into something that our customers can understand. I'm not a TOGAF person. I'm going to tell you very crisply, there is no certification that's going to make you a good architect. None. 0, 0, 0, 0. So if you wanted to do a TOGAF and a Certified Solutions Architect Professional as your 2 certifications, sure. But because here's the thing, the certifications are like this irrelevant stamp we stick on our resume that helps us get an interview and doesn't do anything else. So TOGAF, not a horrible thing. Although I'm going to tell you this, The way they refer to things, your customers will have no idea what it means. So don't walk, talk, or act like a TOGAF architect if you want to be an architect. So I recommend becoming great. Now, I want you guys to think about this. And, we're very firm on this. Here, I can do my TOGAF certification, and here's the net add. 0. Is it going to get me any new jobs? No. Is it going to get me paid more? No. There's no gain. Now, soft skills training on the average person raises their salary by 30%. 30%. So we got an architect with an average salary of $160, and we add 30%. That's $55,000 a year of training. Now, emotional intelligence training on average raises somebody's salary by $29,600 more per year. So you can focus your time on TOGAF, which will do nothing for you. Nothing for you. Or you could focus on soft skills and emotional intelligence and earn about $80,000, $90,000 more per year, which is an additional $2.5 million over a 30-year career. My thoughts on TOGAF are don't waste your time, effort, and money. Develop your high-value skills, not your low-value skills. And that's the main difference. The main difference between architects and engineers. Architects are business executives. And having a bunch of techie certifications doesn't make you a better business executive. It makes you a worse one. Because what are the different paths a cloud architect can choose? It's all design. So there's no app development because we don't code. You could be a generic cloud architect that focuses on the whole thing. You could be a cloud security architect who focuses on the security of the whole thing. You could be a cloud network architect who focuses on it. Now, all these other things, when you really think about, if you're talking about an application architect, that's not a cloud architect at all. That's an application architect. If you're talking about a data architect, that's a data architect, has nothing to do with the cloud. So realistically speaking, it's just the cloud architect is really an enterprise architect. And any of these other things are like security architects, it's just an architect that focuses on security. There are also IAM architects that focus on IAM, but they're not a cloud architect. So, thinking about it, you've got a cloud architect, you've got a cloud security architect, a cloud network architect, and then you have other architects from different fields. You've got application architects, you've got unified communications architects, you've got lots of different kinds of architects that you're working with. But the cloud is either the cloud, the security, or the networking. They're your three main things. It's a great, great, great question. And the security field, what are recommended certifications? For the architect, it's really the CISSP. And here's the reason. We architects don't ever touch the tech. So we're really looking, and certifications are again, they're not going to get you anything other than an interview. But I do like the CISSP, and here's the reason why. It's not a techie certification. It covers the important things such as security policy, how to write a security policy. It talks about training of your users and anti-phishing and anti-malware and anti-social engineering. So realistically speaking, that's your best security certification is the CISSP. It's not a deep security certification. It's a very generic architecture-like certification. So that's the only one I would recommend. Harry, you're more than welcome. So glad you were here. Well, it was so good seeing you here. Well, it's been a really nice time spending the afternoon with you guys. If you guys can all give me a cloud hired in the chat box and let us know in the chat box what you like. The cloud architect job, solution architect job, enterprise architect, cloud engineer job, and it'll give us a feel for who's here. I'd like to remind you that we currently have 30% off of all programs using my coupon code BIRTHDAY. This was my birthday last week. And I want to make sure you join us on Thursday on the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job program webinar, because it's going to be a very special webinar this week, and it's going to be fun. So register. The link is in the description below. Hope you've all had a wonderful time this afternoon. I look forward to seeing you in another video. Take care, everybody, and let's get cloud hired.